Hello.
Hi,
Hey,
this is
Selena.
Selina with the upcoming. It's such a pleasure to be able to speak to you today. Blake, I was super curious because it's quite unusual for an author to adapt their own novels into a show. At what stage was it decided that you would be the showrunner of this?
Interestingly enough, as we got the rights back from feature to television, because this was originally supposed to be a movie, I knew that I wanted to write it. And we had started off actually shopping around and looking for the showrunners. And the more that I started writing and the more it got real, I don't remember if there was an exact moment, but it just sort of felt like I'm going to jump off the high dive and actually try to do this, because I started realizing it's such a complicated idea and there were so many ways that it could be messed up. And
Also to interrupt you, but to flatter you, and this is true, we found it was sort of bizarre because there was sort of Blake sitting in the room with his book that we were adapting with, other very good writers, but they weren't Blake. And we hadn't quite found the magic, to be honest with you. And so the obvious conversation became, well, why isn't the person who's the reason we're here going to adapt it? And it made sense. We set out to make a show that was based on this book. And so why not have the person who gave that life, whose brain it came from, giving it voice?
And total credit to Sony and Apple for saying, we think you can do this. That gave me the confidence. I was like, oh, if you guys think I can do this, I'm willing to do something I've never done before.
And when you wrote the book originally, did you already have a film adaptation in mind? Did you picture certain characters looking like certain actors, or was this at the moment of writing completely out of your mindset?
When I'm writing a book, I really don't think of actors who are playing the characters. I just think of the characters themselves, and I don't really ever see them super clearly. The faces are always kind of weirdly fuzzy, if that makes sense.
Did you think of a producer? Did you picture me?
I pictured
You did.
I was like, if I could get Matt Tolmach to produce this. I think of producers as I write. Yes.
It's one of Blake's quirks.
But once, we got into the production itself, that changes and you're like, wow, who is the person that can embody this character?
And Matt, you have also experience with producing Marvel films, and I guess the most, I would say, mainstream connection to these multiverse stories, or different universe or different time verses for one person to live through comes through that. How would you say dark matter differs from those types of stories, and what is it that continues to draw people to this type of stories?
Well, I think dark matter is a very grounded world, despite it being a show about traversing multiple realities. That was always incredibly important to us. That it, as spectacular as the scope of it is, that it feels grounded and real. And these are normal people like us. And I think it differs in some ways from Marvel fare in that way, that this is a very normal family. And the hope is that everybody finds themselves in this family that we're presenting. And I think, to the second question, I think we're living in challenging times when we're constantly questioning the choices that we made. I think social media has put other people's lives in front of us and forced us to weigh the lives we're living versus what somebody else is presenting. And it's that those questions have always, I think, been there for people. But I think they're amplified in the kind of challenging times we live in. So it's this age-old question, but I think told in a moment where a lot of people are asking it.
It's interesting. When I published the book in 2016, there weren't a lot of multiverse stories out there. It was sort of novel in that way. And then, some things happened in 2016, at least in America. And then wow, tons of multiverse stories of dark worlds and other worlds and crazy worlds. But we've always thought of our show not as a multiverse show, but as a show about human beings looking at their lives and wondering what if.
That's right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Leah.
Thanks.
Take care.